I woke up on my 30th birthday with a mixture of excitement and unease. My parents had called for a special family dinner, which seemed nice until I remembered the strange tension at our recent gatherings. As a software engineer with a stable career, I had always been the reliable one, while my younger brother Adam struggled with constant financial troubles. The past few weeks, my parents had been making odd comments about my savings and investments. When they texted requesting an important family meeting before my birthday dinner, my stomach knotted with apprehension. Before I tell you how my birthday turned into the worst day of my life, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit that subscribe button. If you have ever had family, take advantage of your success. I had been working since I was 15 years old. While most of my high school friends were hanging out at the mall or playing video games, I was stocking shelves at the local grocery store, saving every penny I could. My parents were not poor, but they were not wealthy either. Just average middle-class Americans trying to make ends meet in our Seattle suburb. They always emphasized the importance of financial independence, at least to me. After high school, I put myself through community college with a combination of scholarships, grants, and my own savings. Those 2 years were brutal, studying during the day, coding at night, and working weekends. But it paid off when I earned a scholarship to complete my computer science degree at a state university. Even then, I worked part-time developing websites for local businesses. Upon graduation, I landed an entry-level position at a tech company. I lived frugally, paid off my small student loans within 3 years, and steadily climbed the corporate ladder. By 30, I had a comfortable 6-figure salary, a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, and a healthy investment portfolio. I was not extravagantly wealthy, but I was financially secure, something I had worked incredibly hard to achieve. My brother Adam, 2 years younger than me, had taken a very different path. He dropped out of 3 different colleges each time with a new excuse about why it was not the right fit. He bounced between jobs, retail food service call centers, never lasting more than a few months at any position. What he did consistently was gamble. It started with poker games in college and escalated to sports betting, online casinos, and eventually connections with some questionable bookies. Our parents had a pattern with Adam. They paid his rent when he was evicted. They covered his car payments when repossession loomed. They hired lawyers when his gambling led to legal troubles. Each time Adam promised it was the last time. Each time our parents believed him. Each time I bit my tongue. Despite my private frustration, I maintained my family loyalty. I showed up for holiday gatherings, remembered birthdays, and called my parents weekly. I never explicitly refused when they occasionally asked for small loans for Adam, though I did start requiring repayment plans that were rarely fulfilled. The strange behavior began about 2 months before my birthday. My father called asking detailed questions about my investment portfolio, what types of accounts I had, their approximate values, and their liquidity. At the time, I assumed he was finally taking an interest in proper financial planning. My mother started making odd comments during our weekly calls, how I had extra money while they were struggling despite their recent kitchen renovation and new SUV. On the morning of my 30th birthday, I received congratulatory texts from colleagues and friends, but nothing from my family. I tried not to read too much into it, perhaps they were planning a surprise. I arrived at my parents' suburban home at 5 o'clock. As requested, immediately noticing their brand new patio furniture and professionally landscaped front yard despite their recent complaints about property tax increases they could barely afford. My mother greeted me with exaggerated enthusiasm that felt forced. My father could barely make eye contact as he shook my hand and mumbled, "Happy birthday, son." There was no cake, no wrapped presents, no birthday decorations. I brushed off the disappointment, assuming they were waiting until dinner. Adam arrived 20 minutes late, wearing designer jeans and a leather jacket that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. For someone supposedly struggling financially, he certainly did not look the part. He gave me a quick side hug and immediately asked if I had brought beer. Before I could answer, my father announced that we needed to have a family meeting in the living room before dinner. Something about his formal tone sent warning signals through my body. We sat awkwardly, My parents on their new leather sofa, Adam sprawled in the recliner, and me perched on the edge of an uncomfortable accent chair that had replaced my favorite reading spot from childhood. "How is work going?" my father asked, his voice unnaturally high. "Fine," I replied. "We just launched a new software platform last week. It went well." "That is wonderful," my mother said, without asking a single follow-up question. No one mentioned my birthday. After a few minutes of stilted small talk, my father cleared his throat nervously. "Drew, we asked you here early because we have a serious family matter to discuss." Before he could continue, Adam sat forward. "I will just cut to the chase. I am in trouble, man. Serious trouble." My immediate concern was genuine. "What kind of trouble? Are you okay?" Adam explained that he owed $100,000 to people who ran an illegal gambling operation. These were not the kind of people who accepted payment plans or bankruptcy filings. They had already threatened him, and the deadline for payment was next week. My concern quickly turned to confusion as I realized where this conversation was heading. My suspicions were confirmed when my father said, "We were hoping you could help Adam out of this situation." "Help how?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "We need you to pay off Adam's debt," my mother stated plainly. "You could liquidate some of your investments. We know you have the money." I sat in stunned silence as they explained that they had already assured Adam's creditors that the money would be paid by the end of the week. They had essentially volunteered my finances without my knowledge or consent. "Family helps family," my mother said tearfully, though something about her performance felt rehearsed. "We would do the same for you if the situations were reversed." I tried to approach the situation rationally. If I were to consider this, what would be the repayment plan? How would Adam ensure this never happens again? Would he consider addiction counseling? My reasonable questions were met with immediate resistance. Adam rolled his eyes and scoffed. "You make 6 figures, what is the big deal? It is not like you have a wife or kids to support." My father fidgeted uncomfortably before revealing that they had used their house as collateral for a previous loan to cover another of Adam's debts, without fully understanding the ramifications. If this new debt was not paid, they could lose their home. "Wait, how many times has this happened?" I asked, my stomach sinking. My mother glanced at my father before admitting this was the 3rd major debt situation in just 2 years. I was floored. They had never told me about the others. As we talked, I discovered they had secretly drained most of their retirement accounts to cover Adam's previous gambling losses. Over $70,000 gone. Throughout this revelation, Adam showed absolutely no remorse. He checked his phone, drummed his fingers on the armrest, and avoided all eye contact. When I suggested he get help for his gambling addiction, he snapped that he did not have a problem, just bad luck streaks. I tried offering alternatives. "Have you considered structured bankruptcy or negotiating with the creditors? There are addiction counseling programs that include financial management." My suggestions were immediately shot down. There was no time for bankruptcy. Negotiation was too embarrassing for the family reputation. Counseling was dismissed as useless psychobabble. Then came the real kicker. Adam had quit his latest job 3 weeks ago to pursue entrepreneurship, while $100,000 in debt. His brilliant business idea, sports betting consultation where he would advise others on their bets. "After all we have done for you," my mother said, her voice hardening. "We sacrificed everything for your education." I could not believe my ears. My parents had contributed exactly $2,500 toward my community college, a local scholarship they happened to be on the selection committee for. Everything else had come from my own work and merit-based scholarships. "Remember when we helped you with college," my father added, apparently forgetting who had actually paid for what. My frustration grew as I recognized the manipulation and gaslighting. This was not new behavior, but it had never been so blatant. When I pointed out the discrepancy in their memories about my college funding, Adam suddenly became aggressive. "You have always thought you were better than everyone else," he snarled. "Walking around with your perfect job and perfect life looking down on me." The conversation deteriorated further when I learned they had been discussing this plan for weeks. They had deliberately waited until my birthday, thinking I would be more emotionally vulnerable and easier to manipulate on my special day. There was no dinner reservation, no cake, no presents. The entire birthday celebration was a setup. A painful memory surfaced. My parents missing my college graduation to attend one of Adam's court hearings. I had sat alone at the ceremony watching other families celebrate together, telling myself it was just bad timing. Now I wondered if it had been a choice. The revelations kept coming. My aunt had called to ask why I was hoarding wealth while my parents struggled. My uncle thought I had refused to help with Adam's medical bills, which never existed. My parents and brother had been systematically lying to our extended family about me. By the way, Adam added with disturbing casualness, that inheritance Mom and Dad promised you, I already spent part of it. They signed over some investments to cover my debts last year. The argument escalated as I tried to explain the difference between helping someone and enabling destructive behavior. No one was listening to my perspective. Every time I made a rational point, my mother cried harder. My father looked more disappointed, and Adam grew more belligerent. Then came the hints of an ultimatum. My father mentioned serious consequences if I refused to step up for the family. My mother whispered to my father, though intentionally loud enough for me to hear, "I told you he would not help us." As the evening wore on, I had a rising realization that had been buried deep within me for years. I had always been valued primarily for what I could provide. My academic achievements were important because they meant I would make money someday. My career success was significant because it meant I could bail out the family when needed. My financial stability was not a source of pride, but an expected resource for everyone else. When my parents realized I was not immediately agreeing to liquidate my investments, their demeanor changed dramatically. The pleading turned to hostility. The tears dried up remarkably quickly. The disappointment transformed into anger. "You are tearing this family apart." My mother sobbed theatrically, her earlier composure completely gone. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, careful not to smudge her makeup. My father stood up, his face reddening. "I never thought I would say this, but you leave me no choice. Either you pay your brother's debt, or you are not part of this family anymore." I noticed that not once during the entire evening had anyone acknowledged my birthday. The day that should have been a celebration of my 30 years of life had become an ambush, a hostage situation, with my family relationship as the ransom behind my parents. Adam smirked. Just a slight upturn at the corner of his mouth, but I caught it. In that moment I saw the manipulation clearly, how he had orchestrated this entire scenario, knowing our parents would take his side as they always had. "Can I see your phone for a second?" I asked my father, extending my hand. Surprised by the non sequitur, he automatically handed it over. I opened his messaging app and found a group chat titled Drew's Birthday Plan. With growing nausea, I scrolled through weeks of messages. He will not say no on his birthday. Remind him how family comes first. No need to actually get him a gift since we are asking for money. It was all there. The calculated manipulation, the deliberate choice of my birthday, the complete disregard for me as anything but a financial solution. But there was more. As I continued looking through my father's phone, I found an old email from my college dean, thanking my parents for their generous donation to the engineering department from Drew's college fund. The $15,000 I had been told was lost in a bad investment had actually gone to seed Adam's failed landscaping business right after he dropped out of his second college. "You took money from my college fund?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the turmoil inside. My mother waved dismissively. "You were always good at earning money anyway. Adam needed it more." That moment crystallized 30 years of similar patterns. The baseball tournaments my parents missed because Adam needed new clothes. The science fair where I won first place standing alone while other parents took photos because Adam had gotten into trouble at school. The constant message, Adam's needs supersede Drew's achievements. I took a deep breath and looked each family member in the eye. I will not pay Adam's gambling debts. Not now, not ever. I will not enable his addiction, or your enabling of his addiction. The response was immediate and visceral. "Then you are no son of ours," my mother declared, as if she had been waiting to say those words. "Happy birthday," Golden Boy Adam taunted. "Not so special now, huh? What followed was a scene I could never have imagined. My mother stood up and walked to the hallway wall, taking down my childhood photos one by one. My high school graduation portrait, my Little League team photo, even the picture of me at 5, proudly holding my first fish caught with my grandfather. She stacked them on the coffee table face down. My father demanded the house key he had given me years ago for emergencies. When I handed it over, he added it to the pile of discarded memories on the table. Despite the emotional devastation, I maintained my dignity as I stood to leave. "I love you all," I said quietly, "and that is why I cannot do this. Adam needs help, not another bailout. I hope someday you will understand that." No one responded. No one moved to stop me. I walked out of my childhood home knowing I might never return. The Seattle rain matched my mood as I drove home. My phone buzzed with notifications, cancellations from the birthday dinner reservation I had made for us at my favorite restaurant, thinking we would go after our family meeting. The hostess was apologetic about the last-minute change, unaware that I was both the canceller and the canceled upon. I arrived at my empty house, the stack of unopened presents from friends on my dining room table, a stark contrast to the family gathering I had just left. I had never felt more alone on a birthday. Later that night, my phone rang. My Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, who had always been kind to me. "Drew, what on earth is going on? Your mother just called me crying about how ungrateful you are." I explained the situation truthfully. Linda's shocked silence spoke volumes. "They never told us about Adam's gambling," she finally said. "They told everyone you refused to help with his medical bills after his accident." "What accident?" "The car crash last year." "Wait. Was that not real either?" As we talked, I pulled up my bank statements on my laptop. Looking at the transactions over years painted a clear picture. A one-sided financial relationship where money flowed out to my family but never returned. Small loans that were never repaid. Gifts that were expected rather than appreciated. The pattern was painfully obvious now that I had the courage to see it. I barely slept that night. By morning, I had made a decision. I would no longer be my family's automated teller machine. It was time to stand up for myself, not just by refusing to pay, but by exposing the years of manipulation and lies. Opening Facebook. I saw my parents had posted photos of Adam in a business suit with the caption, "So proud of our son's successful investments. New ventures on the horizon." The timestamp showed they had posted it just hours after I left. The comments section was filled with congratulations and praise for Adam's fictitious business acumen. Messages began flowing in from cousins, family, friends, and distant relatives. "How could you refuse to help your struggling family? After everything they have done for you, your brother could lose everything because of your selfishness." The narratives my family had spun about me were extensive and damaging. My investigation deepened when my cousin Jackson called to ask if I knew anything about the $5,000 Adam had borrowed from him last month for an emergency medical procedure that my parents supposedly could not afford. Jackson was not the only one. Adam had apparently been soliciting business loans from elderly relatives, including our 75-year-old great-aunt, who lived on a fixed income. I spent the day gathering evidence, bank statements, showing money transfers, screenshots of messages admitting to lies, recordings of Adam boasting about manipulating our parents. I scheduled an appointment with my financial advisor to ensure my assets were protected from any potential claims my family might make. On the advice of a friend, I also consulted an attorney about the potential elder fraud Adam had committed by soliciting money from older relatives under false pretenses. My college friend Michael, who had stood by me through tough times, helped me craft a careful, factual email. "You are not being vindictive," he assured me. "You are telling the truth with evidence to back it up. People deserve to know they have been lied to." The email took shape methodically. I included documentation of Adam's gambling debts and my parents' knowledge of them. I attached proof of the lies told about me to extract sympathy and money from others. I included statements from the few relatives who had already confirmed being misled. Most importantly, I made clear that despite everything, I would still support Adam seeking addiction treatment, the only help I was willing to provide. The decision to send it was not easy. Did I want to be responsible for destroying my family's reputation? But then I remembered. They had already tried to destroy mine, and they were continuing to defraud people who trusted them. After one final review, I sent the email to our extended family, close family friends, and several members of my parents' church community who had been told elaborate lies about me. I did not post it publicly. This was not about humiliation, but truth. The response was immediate. My phone exploded with notifications. My parents called 17 times in the span of an hour, leaving increasingly furious voicemails. Adam sent threatening texts about ruining his life and destroying his reputation, apparently unconcerned that his reputation was built entirely on lies. What I had not expected was the outpouring of support. Relatives I had rarely spoken to reached out with messages of sympathy and solidarity. My Uncle Robert called to tell me Adam had borrowed $20,000 from him for a business opportunity with promises of repayment that never materialized. Multiple family friends expressed shock at how I had been portrayed to them versus the documented reality. The community my parents had worked so hard to impress with their perfect family image began to see the truth. Their social standing, built partially on portraying me as the villain, and Adam as the struggling hero, crumbled quickly when faced with evidence. For Adam, the consequences were more direct. Without anyone willing to bail him out, he was forced to face his creditors and his addiction. My parents' endless protection had shielded him from the natural consequences of his actions for years. That shield was now gone. I felt conflicting emotions, relief at finally speaking my truth, grief for the family I had thought. I had anger at the years of manipulation, but underneath it all was a sense of liberation. The burden of being the family bank had been lifted, even at the cost of the family itself. 3 days after my disastrous birthday, my phone rang with an unknown number. It was my father's boss calling to invite me to dinner. "I have known your parents for 20 years, he said, but after seeing that email and their reaction to it, I need to apologize for how I have treated you based on what they told me. I would like to celebrate your birthday properly." That dinner became the first authentic birthday celebration I had experienced in years, surrounded by people who saw and valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. 6 months passed, and my life transformed in ways I never expected. Weekly therapy sessions helped me process the grief and establish healthier boundaries. I reconnected with extended family members who had believed my parents' lies for years, but now wanted genuine relationships based on truth. My career flourished once I redirected the energy previously consumed by family drama. The promotion I had been working toward came through, along with an opportunity to lead a new project team. Without the constant financial drain of supporting Adam, I was able to increase my retirement contributions and even start a small charitable foundation focused on financial literacy for young adults. My parents' approach evolved over time. The initial angry demands for me to retract my lies gradually shifted to awkward attempts at apology. Their first message acknowledged no wrongdoing. "We are sorry you felt we took advantage of you," but later communications showed glimmers of genuine reflection. I maintained my distance, responding politely, but firmly, that I needed to see real change before considering reconciliation. Adam hit rock bottom when his creditors came collecting and found no family safety net. He faced legal consequences for some of his financial maneuvers and finally had to confront his addiction without enablers cushioning the fall. I made it clear through a third party that I would support rehabilitation efforts, but would not provide money under any circumstances. I established firm boundaries: no contact unless Adam was actively pursuing addiction treatment, and my parents acknowledged their enabling behaviors. It was painful but necessary for my well-being. My social circle transformed as I built authentic connections based on mutual respect rather than obligation. I started a monthly dinner group for family by choice, friends and distant relatives who valued honest relationships. These gatherings healed something in me that I had not realized was broken. Unexpectedly, helping my younger cousin with legitimate financial education became part of my healing process. Teaching her about budgeting, investing, and healthy financial boundaries allowed me to transform my painful experiences into something positive. My parents slowly, reluctantly began to acknowledge their role in enabling Adam. My mother admitted in an email that they had perhaps been too quick to rescue him over the years. My father called on my 31st birthday. A brief, awkward conversation, but the first acknowledgement of my birthday in years. On the one-year anniversary of our family fallout, I spent a weekend reflecting on the painful but necessary growth of the past year. The family I had lost was real, but it was also built on unhealthy dynamics that would have eventually destroyed me financially and emotionally. Adam took tentative steps toward recovery after 9 months of denying his problems. He enrolled in a gambling addiction program and began making minimum payments to those he had defrauded. His counselor reached out with his permission, asking if I would consider being part of his support network, not financially but as family. I made the difficult decision to forgive but maintain healthy distance. Forgiveness was for my peace, not their absolution. I would not carry the burden of resentment, but neither would I expose myself to potential manipulation again. When my parents requested a reconciliation meeting with a family therapist, I agreed with clear conditions. I would listen, but I needed acknowledgement of the past, and commitment to new patterns before moving forward. The session was tense but productive, the first time we had spoken honestly in perhaps our entire family history. The year brought unexpected life improvements beyond family dynamics. I met Sarah, who understood boundaries and valued me for myself, not what I could provide. My career advancement came with new creative opportunities. I found myself laughing more easily and sleeping without anxiety for the first time in decades. The most profound lesson was that family is defined by respect and honesty, not DNA. Blood relations who treat you as an ATM are not acting as true family. People who value your well-being and respect your boundaries are your real family regardless of genetics. Adam's rehabilitation progress led to something I never expected, a genuine apology. Not for getting caught, not for losing access to my finances, but for years of manipulation and exploitation. Whether our relationship could ever truly heal remained uncertain, but his accountability was a necessary first step. My 32nd birthday was everything my 30th should have been. A small, meaningful celebration with people who truly valued me. No hidden agendas, no financial ambushes, just authentic connection and celebration. Looking back at the painful journey from that rainy birthday night to today, I recognize that sometimes necessary endings create space for better beginnings. Walking away from toxic patterns allowed me to build something healthier, both with parts of my biological family and with my chosen family. I do not know what the future holds for my family relationships. Reconciliation requires effort from all sides, and trust takes years to rebuild. What I do know is that I will never again sacrifice my self-respect and financial security for people who view me as merely a resource. Has your family ever expected you to sacrifice your financial security for them? Have you had to establish difficult boundaries with loved ones? Drop a comment below sharing your experience. Your story might help someone else find the boundaries. Courage to stand up for themselves. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to say no, even to family. Thank you for listening. And remember, true family lifts you up, they do not drain you dry.